My life used to be miserable. I would wake up and I'd do the worst habit in the start of the morning. When I was around 14, 15, even 16, my life was horrible. But things changed, and look at me now. My lifestyle had completely inverted. How did I get from a depressed 15-year-old to a joyful and happy 18-year-old? Of course, I didn't make the craziest transformation ever, you know. Like, not at all. I'm still pretty broke, but I got out of a depression, eliminated my bad habits, and became confident. You can just tell from my voice when I was 15 years old that I was unhappy.
Oh, so someone in the server obviously littered everywhere, which is nice to see. Okay. Yay.
My voice was dull, and you could really hear that I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't happy at all. But fast forward 3 years later, and I'm feeling great. What changed? In today's video, I'm going to discuss when my life was horrible. When I was 15 years old, I was unhappy. But then I'll explain what changed and how I changed to feel happy consistently. And I'll teach you how you can have a glow up in your life, you know, how you can experience the glow up and to change the trajectory of your life. But first, let's find out why I'm ranting about why my life used to suck. Now, this isn't a sob story, okay? I'm not trying to get anyone to feel bad for me because, let's be real, there's people who have had worse lives than me. I'll admit that. When I was 14 years old, all I did with my life was wake up, play video games, go to sleep, and there are other bad habits in there that were pretty horrible and they mess with you mentally. I ate sugary foods every day, and my breakfast, you know my breakfast, right? Back then it was Weet Bix, but we would warm the milk up and then we'd put sugar on top of the Weet Bix. You know how like ridiculous that is? It wasn't even that pleasurable enough for me to, you know, I need more sugar, which is like, of course in the morning, that's gonna make me feel horrible. So I made breakfast sap all my energy out already in the morning. And it wasn't even just that would sap my energy out. It would be using my phone in the morning, adult content in the morning, even more energy gone. Things like social media and all that, they all took my energy in the morning. I was living a life in a way that God didn't want me to live like, okay? God didn't intend me to live like this. Instead, I was following the serpent's whispers into my ear. My life would just be pleasure, non-stop. Like, it would just be constant pleasure. Wake up, pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. No pain or action, go to sleep. And I think many people relate to this life because there are a lot of people who are ashamed of the fact that all they did was play video games recklessly for 24 hours a day. And I feel like this will help you navigate your journey, right? Because look, you can't focus on the past. All that matters now is taking the time back. You're trying to reconquer everything. Because yes, you could have spent your life as a teenager mastering skills and would have been helpful for you now. But you didn't know that when you were young. So what you should do right now is to focus on taking that time back and actually making your time right now worth it. And once you succeed, what you did in the past won't matter anymore. I think a lot of people would relate to, you know, the life I had and the symptoms that came with it. Because a lot of people did live the same life. So what is the thing that is making a life suck? It becomes extremely clear once you actually look at it, you know, once you realize how habits work. Because every morning, if you were to waste your seed, play a video game and eat sugar, you are bound to feel horrible at the start of the day, you know, bound to feel garbage throughout the entire day. So of course, I felt like garbage. Of course I did, because of all the bad habits I did in the morning. So I want you to try this out. If you do these bad habits every single day where you do pleasurable things every day, I want you to try this trick out. Instead of waking up to check your phone, put your phone away from you before you go to bed, by the way. Wake up, go outside for a walk, do some activities that are good for you, and do that for a whole 1 hour. 1 hour of walk, stretching, and then come back once the hour has passed. And now tell me how good you feel when it hits 12:30 p.m. I also had no goals to pursue when I was really young, which I think that is something that a lot of people relate to as well. Yes, I had a YouTube channel back then, which was a gaming channel, but it wasn't really a purpose. It was there because I thought it'd be fun, and then I got trapped into the routine of it, you know? So I had no purpose to guide my life with. And I think a lot of people can relate here because a lot of people lack purposes. They lack the main pursuit, which is where the Zoomer depression comes from. That's why you need to find your own purpose. You know, like my purpose is doing this. And you need to find your purpose because a life without direction is a horrible life, which we'll get onto that later. So thus, my brain was out of alignment because of all these things. Bad habits, no purpose, waking up and doing everything horrible. The gray matter was in the wrong part of the brain. It was in the amygdala instead of the prefrontal cortex. And this made me feel really, really bad. So fast forward when I become 16 years old. I wanted to turn my life around because being 15 was horrible. I did not enjoy 2020 at all. And the thing I started with was to develop my confidence. It wasn't anything like fitness. I don't even know why I didn't do fitness, but we went into confidence. And this is where my self-improvement journey began because I wanted to improve myself and I was actually trying to do it. And as a result, with working on my confidence and committing to that purpose, I started to feel happy because I got rid of a lot of bad habits. I started to focus on confidence, like I had a purpose, and that made me happier. So no more depression or daily misery. I felt great. I soon got myself into a relationship the year following, which was 2022, which ended up as a failure anyway, but that's the story for another time. After the relationship, I started to really mature. Back then, when I was trying to learn confidence as a 16-year-old, I wasn't maturing at all. But now, I was actually focusing on being a mature masculine man this time. And now, I'm pursuing the purpose of YouTube. And as a result, I became a lot more reasonable. So where am I now? Where am I now as a result of all that self-development? So let's look at my schedule. I wake up, morning sun exposure, cold shower, which is inconsistent. Then I do my work, writing scripts, editing videos, learning more about the algorithm, whatever. Then I spend the rest of my time learning about God and forging my own relationship with him. That is completely different. So how do I feel now as a result of the change of schedule? Great. Of course, I think my life isn't good enough. It can be so much better, but this is great for someone who just graduated. I started going to the gym and I've been at it for a year now, and I have muscle now. Of course, I'm still skinny, but I'm getting bigger. And besides my acne, I'm overall quite happy with my appearance. And before I went to the gym, I used to get so anxious about being skinny because I was made fun of for being skinny. I was quite insecure about that. But now, I kind of don't care anymore because I at least have something to show. And I'm maturing every single day and learning how to actually be more mature. Of course, I still act immature sometimes, but it's getting better. So what changed? What occurred for me to be this way? First of all, we have to discuss habits. That is the most important part. Back then, when you're opening up your habits with Pornhub, social media, gaming, you are going to feel trash throughout the entire day. And doing that, you're setting your days up for misery. So of course you're going to feel miserable. You feel flat in an hour's time. While if you go out and the first thing you do in the morning is enjoy the nature in the morning, you know, your brain clarity will be improved because nature is just good for your brain overall. And you'll feel excellent during the day. This is the first thing you must be focusing on if you want to have a glow up, okay? You need to change your habits now. Because if you're still, you know, watching pornography, scrolling on social media 10 hours a day, playing video games, then your glow up won't happen, okay? You're still going to feel miserable. So you need to cut those out immediately. Because I do believe that your habit is a reflection of how you feel. Because if you do bad habits, of course you're going to feel garbage. But if you do good habits, you're going to feel great. And this is what I found out throughout my entire life. When I felt depressed and miserable, that was when I was doing bad habits. When I felt great and happy, that was when I was doing good habits. So if you want a clear mind to actually feel happy, because when you abuse your dopamine receptors, you're bound to feel worse. You need to change your habits. And the second part was my goals. Purpose, gym, God. Let's talk about all of them at once. My purpose with YouTube, right? Back then, without a purpose, I had no direction, right? And when you're directionless, you do bad habits automatically, okay? You just automatically do bad habits because your brain wants to do the easiest thing and it needs to be entertained. So instead of thinking, it goes to the computer or the phone. But when I started getting a purpose, like my first ever purpose was to improve my confidence, I started to feel great, and thus those habits started to shy away because I started to spend more time doing my purpose. And now when I'm doing YouTube, those habits, they're gone as a result. So that is very important. Get yourself a purpose because that's going to improve you a lot. And then there's the gym. The gym is great because 1, it boosts your confidence. 2, it gives you muscle, which is great. And 3, the serotonin boost you get from working out is perfect because serotonin is very much, it comes out when you experience pain and it makes you feel good as a result, which is why when I experience pain, like stretching and all that, it feels great. And plus, this will change your brain balance, so increase your prefrontal cortex and decrease your amygdala. That's pretty good. And then there's God. Before then, I was godless, right? I was an atheist, which, you know, is fine if, you know, I guess you call yourself an atheist, but the problem is, without God, I had no direction. Without God and a purpose, okay? But when I started to get into God, the more I start having faith in him, well, the less I started to do bad habits, which is interesting. So my life started to, you know, feel much better when I started to, you know, become closer with God. And I encourage you to do it too. So that's interesting. Okay. 3 changes. Okay. And if you want to do your glow up, you need to have goals, a minimum of 3 goals. Don't go over that. Otherwise, you're just going to overflow your mind and you won't achieve any of them. But here's the thing. How did this happen in the first place? I could have just kept being a loser. Self-awareness. You need good self-awareness. Because you need self-awareness to spot out your habits. You need self-awareness to spot out your maturity, your immaturity. You need self-awareness to create good goals. Because a lot of people who are addicted have no self-awareness, right? They defend their addictions with so so much like vigor or whatever, and thus you can tell they lack self-awareness because that addiction is ruining their lives. So if you had self-awareness, you would know that that's bad for you. You need self-awareness for all of this, and that's what got me into the glow up period. I knew my life was terrible, so I had to act, and thus I did. So you need an exact reason why you do these bad habits. You need to pin them down, and then you need to interrupt each pattern. I had to be self-aware to improve my social skills and charisma. I had to be self-aware to improve my habits. If your level of self-awareness is extremely high, then anything is possible. That is how I had my glow up. The self-awareness. So learn from me and you can change your life altogether. Outline your problems, come up with solutions, and be as critically self-aware as possible. Because anything is possible, really. Keep never quitting.